Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is Thursday, and we are back with some more running with scissors. And yeah, here we are. I've got so much going on, and sorry I was running just a little behind. I forgot that I needed to cut some double-sided adhesive, but we're good to go now. And we're going to have some fun with gel plates again today. And yeah, good times. So, and you know what, good indoor times because it is hot everywhere. It's hot here in Nebraska. We've had some crazy hot days, some crazy weather come through. We're gonna have some more crazy weather tonight. But hey, we're still here and that's what matters. So we're gonna do some crafting and we're gonna get started. I see everybody checking in. Hello to all of you out there. I see Anne and Cece and Sue, Nancy, Paula, someone new from Georgia, Ms. Schmitzer, I'm guessing. So welcome to the channel. If you are new here, I'd love for you to say hello and tell us where you're from. And obviously you can see we're all talking about the weather. So how hot is it where you are today? If you're down in the southern hemisphere, it might be a little cooler and we might like to hear about that. So share with us. Let's get started with some announcements. I haven't changed much on here. The Card Maker Success Summit is coming. It will be here in the end of next month. It runs the last weekend of July. So we've got just a little over a month before that pops. So to get on the wait list for registration for that, go to NicoleWattCreates.com/card summit. And that will take you over to Brandy's page for you to get all signed up for the wait list. Brandy Mahon, she is the hostess for that. And you'll want to get on that waiting list so that way you can be the first to register. Of course, it's a free event and I would love to have you there. We're going to be doing some gel press stuff. So if you're loving this month, you're going to love what I do for that summit. Of course, we've got gel press this month. Next month, we're doing wax mediums, which is going to be super interesting. I shared a little bit last week about the wax mediums I'm going to be using. I totally forgot to add them to the supplies list for this week in case you're interested in that. I will add them in later. So the link to the supplies list, just hang on to that and go check that out later. And it will have some of the waxes that I'll be using. I'm going to be using two brands. I'm going to be using the Prima Finnabair brand of wax. I'm also going to be using the new Tim Holtz Foundry waxes. They're two completely different mediums and they're do some really neat things. So we're going to share about those next month and work with those. Let's see. And then in August, we're going to be taking our acrylic paints off of the gel press and using them in different ways. So, you know, I love to be able to use my products in a multitude of different ways. So the more versatile a product can be, the more apt I am to buy it and use it. So you're definitely going to want to keep your acrylics out because we're going to be using them again in August, but in a completely different way. No gel presses this time. All right, let's see, lots of other things going on. Technique freebie, that's the easiest way to get on my mailing list. It gets you a freebie, which gets you a little bit of information about my technique library and some of the stuff that I've got going on with that. It also will get you on my mailing list, so you'll find out all the new up and coming things, especially with the summit coming on. You're going to want to be on that list. I also have another class that I'm going to be a part of, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And you'll want to be on the list for that as well, because it's going to get you all that information. And then, of course, updates on crafty sales and stuff like that. Of course, there are always crafty sales going on. Scrapbook.com right now is doing their hot, sizzling sales of the summer. They've got 2 free items every day, plus a whole bunch of things. And they just popped on a whole bunch of their exclusive patterned paper, which are really kind of cool. And they're kind of enticing me. It's like $110 worth of paper for like $24. It's a crazy deal. Check that out for sure. And then scrapbookpal.com is doing a sale, I think. And then also, I know a Cherry on Top is doing 10% off right now. So definitely check into the crafty sales if you need some craft supplies. Let's see, I always appreciate everything that you guys do for me, whether it's sharing this video. So if you're on right now and you want to get your other crafty friends joining in, click on that share button and share it out to your social media channels or email it to someone and tell them to join us while we're live. So I would love it if you do that. If you give today's video a thumbs up, I appreciate that too. Of course, if you're inspired by anything you see here today, tag me at Nicole Watt Creates on Instagram. I love to see what you're creating. I see stuff all the time from you guys and I love it. I leave little comments and hearts and all sorts of love for you. I do always appreciate it when you use those affiliate links to shop, which is what you will find when you go to my description and the products that I'm using today. Those are affiliate links. They always they're no additional cost to you. So when you click on them, you do some shopping, I might get a little commission from the company that you shop with, no matter what you buy. But it's always at no additional cost to you. So this is a great way to say thank you to crafters. And of course, you can always use the tip jar link to send me a tip directly through PayPal. You can also use some other features if you're familiar with them here on YouTube, like the super chat and the super stickers. Oh, did I do that all in one breath? It feels like it. Holy moly. Getting really good at that. Maybe we need to mix it up a little bit so that it's not so predictable. Anyway, hey, I want to talk to you guys about something coming up also in July. I am going to be a part of the Craft Your Life retreat with Alta New on July 16th. We are doing a tulip bonanza. It's called Bouquet Bonanza, actually, but we're doing it's a tulip stamp set. It's a 6x8 tulip stamp set. It is a tulip 3D embossing folder you're going to love. My particular workshop is called Watercolor with What? Because I'm going to be watercoloring with pigment inks. So you're going to want to join in on that. It is live. It is kind of like this, except we get to interact with each other because you will be on Zoom with me and you can ask questions and all that kind of stuff. And we'll have somebody kind of emceeing the whole event. And if you haven't been to one yet, they're really a lot of fun. It does go all day on the 16th. We each get about an hour and a half, and then there's a break in between each person, and there's 6 of us presenting. And if you sign up now, there is a 15% off coupon. You can use that code right there on the screen. And if you go through, the easiest way to get to that is to go to NicoleWattCreates.com/CYLR. It doesn't need to be all caps or anything, but go to that and it'll take you right to the sign up page. It's also an affiliate link, so it'll give me an extra little bump there. So I appreciate it. And then if you want to get 15% off, use CYLEB Bonanza 22 at checkout, and that will get you 15% off coupon on the day's event. Yes. And then I get to see you there, your beautiful, smiling, shiny, happy face. All right. If you have any questions about it, you can pop them into the chat. I know there's some people in the chat that have been to these events. So if you have questions, ask, and they'll help and answer, and I'll answer as I can and as I see them. All right. Welcome to all of our new subscribers this week. Every week I'm getting new subscribers, and I'm so glad to have you all here. Welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on that button and joining in on all the fun at this channel. All right, let's go down to the hands. All right, have you been on Instagram lately? Did you see the reel that I posted that used this? I had to cut off half of it because it went into my technique binder, but I wanted to share because we're going to do this one too as like a little bonus today. This is basically what we're doing. We're doing some high contrast prints. We're going to have fun with this. And we're using a different medium today, a different paper medium. And these are just some samples that I have. These are going to pop back up again maybe next week. It kind of depends on where next week takes us. But let's go down here. All right, so today's projects, these are the main projects that I created for today. And maybe we'll get into the sunflower as well. But these are the ones we're going to focus on. And so basically what they are is high contrast gel press prints. Oh, I need to pull out my spray. I totally forgot to do that. All right. And they're really cool because I also have them like crinkled up and everything. So they're kind of like distressed, and there's like lots of nice texture on here and everything. Very tactile experience. All right. So this is what we're going to start with. All right. And today we're using a different paper. You know, I am a huge fan of the resume paper. It's that 100% cotton resume paper. It's a nice weight. It pulls really easily. It absorbs just enough water that it doesn't like fall apart or anything like that. It gives you a great print. But I know a lot of people like to use deli paper. So I wanted to show you some options for deli paper. Okay, so you may have seen a deli paper like this. It's the interfolded deli sheets. And what you want to look for is that it is a dry wax paper. You don't want to actually have wax on it. That's not going to work so well with your gel press. But you want to make sure that it's a dry wax paper. Now these happen to be 12 by 10 3/4 inches. Okay, and this one isn't open yet. Let me show you what the end of that looks like. So they're interleaven, or, like when you pull them out, the next one is already, ready to pull out kind of situation, right? So when you pull one out, you've got that 12 inches. It's got a pretty little zigzag on it, right? Which is maybe kind of a nice little element. And then the 10 3/4 the other direction. But it's got this nice little line in the middle. So if the line causes you problems, or you don't want to have to deal with that, you can order just straight up, oh, excuse me, my goodness, straight up deli paper that is 12 by 12 sheets. And I found some really good ones on Amazon, and also Joggles sells 12 by 12 sheets. So beautiful 12 by 12 unfolded, unperforated on anything sheets. These work really, really well. And they are definitely something to look into if you don't really like that little crease in there, but we're going to use some ones with the creases today. And just kind of see how that goes. All right, so, I keep these in a little 12 by 12 thing here, and it came with 100 sheets, the one that I got from Amazon, and I really like it. Works really well. Okay, so you can use rice paper, you can use all sorts of different things, but we're going to use these. I cut them in half on the 12-inch side, so they're now 6 inches by 10 3/4 inches. And you see how that's going to fit on my gel press? Really nice. That's going to work really well. Okay, and with this particular paper, there is a slightly less shiny side and a shiny side. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter which side you use. All right, they both will pull up on your gel press. And yeah, so let's get started with some high contrast gel prints. Okay, so we're going to be using our Liquitex as usual. I've got Mars Black and Titanium White, and then for the sunflower I used Phthalo Blue, Cadmium Orange, and Cadmium Yellow. But today we're also going to use the Crafters Workshop stencil butters. And if you've never used the stencil butters before, they really are buttery. They're super soft and creamy and awesome. I got introduced to these at Creativation. I mean, look at that. All right, but this is an acrylic based medium. All right, and you can tell because when you smell it, it smells like acrylic. All right, acrylic has a smell to it, and if you're familiar with it, you'll be like, oh yeah, that is. And then when you feel it, you're like, oh yeah, I know that feeling. It's an acrylic feeling. So, and of course it cleans up with water and everything. So we're going to use these guys as well. And I just remembered, like, I didn't pull anything else out, like my brayers and all that. So give me a minute. And a towel. It's not wet, but it doesn't need to be. Okay, so a couple of other bits of equipment that were kind of necessary to do gel press printing. Oh, and you know what else I really need? Stencils. All right, to pull over my big thing of stencils here and pull out the ones that I really want to use today. So we're going to get to this guy, I promise. And then in the back here, I have all my stencils from A Colorful Life Designs. And here she is, the big rose. It's just absolutely gorgeous. All right, now we can really get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is put down our stencil. All right, so stencil, actually, no, that's not the first thing. First thing we're going to do is put down some colors. So you have to look at your stencil and decide how this is going to work, right? So basically the first color that I put down is going to be whatever the stencil is going to hide. So in this case, the stencil is going to hide like the detail that makes the petals, not the petals themselves. So we want to do our background color first in this case, all right? If it was flipped around where it was going to leave the lines and not the actual petals, then we would want to do like the pink or whatever color we wanted the flower to be, because it would be hiding the petals and not hiding the little spaces in between, right? All right, so we're going to do high contrast. We're going to do black and pink because that's definitely high contrast, right? So this is Mars Black. It's not quite a super deep black, but it's a nice black. So we're just going to get this nice little light layer. Now, a lot of the folks in the Bloom creative community have been working with their gel press lately. And one of the things that they're finding is that they're using too much paint. And yeah, that can be a really self-critiquing problem. You want to make sure you're not using too much paint, because otherwise it's never going to dry, and you're just gonna, everything's going to slip and slide around. It's just not going to be an optimal experience. Use less paint than you think to start off with, and then if you need to add more, add more. All right, so I'm going to pop on now my stencil. All right, so that's on there. I'm going to take a piece of deli paper. And that's deli paper cut up here. All right, I'm going to take a piece of deli paper. Doesn't matter, flat side or shiny side, either way works. Pop it right on top, and I'm going to press to get that layer up. All right, so essentially what we're trying to do here is pick up all of the exposed paint. So especially the exposed paint in the stencil. So that's kind of a nice reason to be using deli paper here, is that I can really see when I have positive contact on the whole thing. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. Oh, it's gorgeous, right? So already you get this amazing print, and this is like practically dry already. So a beautiful, just a black and white print that we can use. All right, looks super, super stunning. Already gorgeous all on its own. So this is the kind of instance where if you wanted to try to use colored paper, or even they make this paper in a craft brown, that would be a really great way to get some nice contrast. Instead of doing the white, you could do a craft brown or a different color and end up with something really cool. All right, so I'm going to kind of just go over this one more time and make sure that it's basically picked everything up. All right, you can try to get around those edges a little bit more if you think you need to. All right, but you don't have to. All right, so there you go. Now we're going to use our stencil butter. All right, so I just take out a little bit with my palette knife. And this is very much like regular acrylic paint. It's nice and thick, and you can just brayer it into place. You don't need a whole lot of it. So you see, I left the stencil in place. And what is that doing for us? That's protecting the black underneath so that it doesn't get any kind of color contamination. It's going to keep everything nice and separate. This is how we get a really good high contrast pull. All right, so the cool thing about this stencil butter is that not only is it a gorgeous color, it's got that nice metallic sheen to it. So that's not just because it's wet, it's got a metallic sheen to it. And let's take a, so you can see that metallic sheen on there. It's so yummy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take my stencil off now. And now I've got this beautiful black and pink contrast. So let me go throw this in the sink. All right, and then we need to let this dry. So I'm going to go ahead and pop on my little fan here. And I'm going to change my chat because it always likes to give me top chat instead of live chat. And then I never get to see what people's questions are. So while we're waiting for this to dry a little bit, do we have any questions? Let's see. Kathy says she's one of the over painters. It fools you. The top feels dry, but it's not. Yes, exactly. So a lot of times I say you kind of want to be able to see a little bit through the gel press, especially if you only have one layer of paint. You want it to look kind of translucent because then you know. And then also, like if you're seeing too many streaks of paint, like it looks thick and it's all just kind of a gloopy mess, that's too much paint. All right. So we're just trying to get the stencil butter to dry. And the black actually is basically dry already. The stencil butter takes just a hair longer. And of course we put that down second, right? So we've got to wait for that to finish. Let's see. So Sue's been playing with some rice paper. And Cece's in like perpetual daytime. She's up in Sweden and she says it's 11 o'clock in the evening. It's still bright outside and the birds are singing. Yeah, that's what happens this time of year, doesn't it? I'd love to go somewhere just for a vacation or something to a place that has like the full day of day and night of day. That'd be kind of cool. So just for a vacation. I don't want to have to deal with like blocking out my windows all the time for the color or for the light and all that kind of stuff. Okay, we are dry. So this is dry now. See, this is a nice little handy tool. I just got this. I love it. It's quiet, but it dries really quick. And I don't have to use heat, so I like that a lot. Okay, this is ready to get pulled up. Now we're just going to do a neutral color. I'm just going to do titanium white on the back. You can basically do any color. It might intermingle with your pink. The black is pretty much black. I'm almost done with this. Titanium white. I might have to pull out the big boy in a minute here because we're almost empty. I'm glad I got a new one the other day. There we go. All right, so again, it's just another thin layer that we want to put across the top here. Now, what is this doing for us? This is sticking to all of the layers and softening up the layers underneath just enough that they will get pulled off of the gel press, because that's what we want to do next. So that's just a little science behind that. Now you see how you can actually still see through this? That's pretty good. All right, and we're going to go ahead and pop another piece of deli paper right on top and start to rub. Now, if you get the kind of deli paper that has the crease in it, be known that when you pull this up, you might get an actual crease in your pull. So you want to kind of pay special attention to that. Make sure that it's got some really good positive contact. You kind of blend that out as much as you can. All right, so this is the really neat thing about this deli paper is that you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is so thin. It's not going to hold up. It's just going to start falling apart or whatever. It doesn't. It really handles the water and the moisture well. All right, and then you're going to start pulling up on the side here and see what we get. Okay, so we're not quite ready yet. If you want, you can take a brayer and kind of brayer across as well. And you know what? Sometimes the pull just doesn't work. So let's see what we get. This should be pretty good. I don't really care so much about the sides. I really want to get the rose though. But see, this is where that little center was from the crease in the paper. All right, so that's what happened. That's all right though. So there we go. Beautiful, high contrast gorgeousness. All right, so I'm going to set that aside to dry for a minute. Let's try and pull up just a little bit of this. Nope, it doesn't want to pull up. So let's just do, I'm going to get just a little bit of white on here and on me apparently. And try to clean this up just a little bit. because we may as well do the sunflower while we're here. We've got plenty of time. All right. So just a quick little layer. Try to pull up some of this pink so we can have kind of a clean plate to start our next pull. It's just not wanting to pull up today. There we go. So here's the cool thing, like this is even a great print. It's got like just some little hints of the flower on there. It's got some of that pink on there. You can always turn your plate over if it's just not cooperating, or you can just straight up clean it with a wet towel or whatever. All right, so this is kind of funky and interesting. It's a nice little, very subtle look. All right. I did get some paint on me, but it'll wash out. Okay, let's take a look at our other option. Okay, so let me just show you these guys as finished. All right, so we're going to use these again in a minute or two. All right, this one we got to let this dry just a little bit. All right, so the sunflower, this is so pretty. So with the sunflower, we are going to do a blue background with yellow and orange. So this was, if you saw this on Instagram, I was, inspired by Ukraine, of course. And I am doing a little fundraiser out there right now for the World Kitchen, and I'm matching. So if you want to go out and do a little fundraising with me, go out to Instagram, check out my reel that I use this with, and it's got a little fundraiser going on my profile. All right, so we're going to start with phthalo blue. And it's a lovely blue. So, and this, the rose, someone just said that the rose was new for them, and the rose is from A Colorful Life Designs, and she does great work out of Texas, and I really, really love her stencils. All right, so a layer of phthalo blue. We're going to pop our sunflower right on there and grab a print. This is going to give us a gorgeous white and blue sunflower. And with these little bits here, of course, we want to make sure we get good positive contact all the way through. So you're going to make sure you're getting all of those to contact your paper. And there we go. Look at that. This is pretty enough just on its own, right? So gorgeous. And it even picked up some of that leftover pink in there. It's awesome. All right, so that's another usable one. And of course, we're working on this little sheet here too that's turning out really interesting. So I want to try to get out just a little bit more of the blue from the sunflower. Now what's going to happen here is that when I start putting these other colors on top of it, it's going to just kind of turn a little bit of a black color. And that's okay. It's going to work out just fine. All right, so let's add in some actual color. Now we're going to leave our stencil on here. I've got cadmium orange and cadmium yellow, and I also have some champagne gold stencil butter. All right, so let's put on a little bit. That's dry. That's good. A little bit of the gold stencil butter, just in a couple little places to start blending that in. All right, and then we'll add in the other colors. All right, so we've got orange. We're going to put the orange in the middle. You see, look at that, just a little teeny tiny drop, and I've got some gold already on my brayer. So basically what I'm doing here is creating a nice little dark center, and I'm going out into the petals, and I'm okay with that, right? Because we're going to get some blending in there and it's going to look gorgeous. right? And I can kind of like run my extra brayer stuff off on the sides here, because remember, we're going to kind of pick up the sides too. So you may as well get some paint on there and get it looking really cool. All right, and then I'm going to take my cadmium yellow and put a few little drops around the rest of this so we can grab the yellow color. So that's going to blend in with the gold. We want to get that right into all those nooks and crannies. And if I really wanted to, like, I could do something for the petal or for the leaf, but I'm not really concerned about it. All right, and I'm just going to kind of go across the whole top of that and wipe off my brayer off on the side here. All right, looks like a hot mess at the moment, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. Let's pull this up. Oh, it's so awesome. Okay, so this is going to dry. All right, and I'm really interested. So Dawn says she saw a really cool technique using baking soda and vinegar. Really interesting. Well, but as we know, baking soda and vinegar is going to get kind of explosive, so it must have left like a little crackly kind of texture, which would be kind of really cool. All right, so let's try this. So what do I have going on here? I've got, you can see some gold in here, some more areas where it's just yellow. So I expect that when we pull this up, that it's going to look really, you know, kind of mottled effect with the gold and the yellow, which I'm going to be really excited about. But this, we're done with all of our brayers now, and these I can just clean up later with a little bit of Murphy's oil soap. And then, of course, the stencil butter is also just another acrylic material, so that will clean up with water. Anything left over on my little knives there will clean up easily. No big deal. All right, so I'm just trying to get the rest of this to dry. You can leave this kind of sitting in one place if you need to. So like I've got a little bit of a thicker yellow going on here. I can leave my fan just sitting over the top of this. Okay, so Kathy wants to know, would this also be considered high contrast? Yes, absolutely. So what I'm calling high contrast are like two colors that wouldn't normally work well together, like complementary colors. So in this case, like yellow and blue normally makes green, right? But because we have them sitting right next to each other, they're almost across from each other on the color wheel. Not quite there. But the blue and the orange are actually. But because we left that stencil in place, we're able to get the orange and the blue sitting right next to each other without any kind of blending of the colors. Because, you know, when you blend orange and blue together, you get kind of like a brown, yucky color, right? So same thing with anytime you wanted to use like black, like if I wanted to do black and orange, you really would have a hard time doing that without making the orange look yucky. So if you use a stencil, you can get that high contrast look very easily because you've got that kind of protected. All right, there we go. Looking for wet spots. Little one over here. All right. So there we go. Yeah, so using the stencil really helps make it, helps keep it from contaminating each other. And there's a lot more that you can do with this. This is very simple with just kind of the two different, I'm using the positive and the negative. If you wanted to add even more to it, you could use various stencils to block off different places and things like that. So there's really a lot you can do with this, but this is really just an intro to it, right? Okay, guys, this is the end of the titanium white. Yay. Get to graduate to my bigger container. All right. All right, so remember, right now we are trying to get a nice even layer on here. Might even need a little more. Yeah, John, I really am loving that fan because it's not loud, so I can talk while we're doing this, which is super nice. All right, so I felt like that layer was still just a little too thin. There we go. All right. I'm going to try something here. Hold that way. Try to get that fold out of there. So this is kind of why I like using the 12 by 12 that I found better, because it doesn't have that crease in the center that invariably causes problems. It just likes to lift, and then the paint doesn't like to stick to it. It's just the way it is. All right. All right, this print is not working out. So I would say it's because I had too much white on here. So let's see if we can save it. Yeah, well, I see. I would think about ironing the crease out, but that's a lot of work to iron a crease out of a piece of paper. Okay, we're getting there. I don't know, maybe it needs to be dried. I've never done this before. Have you ever dried your paper while you're working on it? Just trying to absorb some of that water. All right. Maybe we've got it. Ah. Patience. Okay. Getting there. I think this helped. I've never done this before. Have you guys? Just turned on your little fan. Oh, if you don't have a fan, this is another reason to get one, because this seems to be helping. It's helping to dissipate some of the moisture. Right, it's evaporating some of that as we go. And I just found that very helpful. So you never know what you're going to learn when you're here live. Check that out. So this is what will happen if you've got that crease in between. Look at that. You see that shimmer in there? That's not because it's wet. That's because it's that gold. It's got all this beautiful gold texture on the sides. I love that. Beautiful. Awesome. All right, so this is a little damp. It needs to dry. Let's see, look. All this stuff pulling up off the edges here. All right. Done with the gel press for today. So let's move this guy out of the way. There, that'll work. And these guys up here. All right, so my top tip for you today: get yourself one of these handy dandy little fans, because I think that just saved this print. It helped to evaporate some of the water off the paper as it was sitting on the press, and helped it to grab the rest of the paint and pull that up. That was money. Okay. So check it out. I've got some really cool scrap pieces. You're going to see these come back next week. I've got just the simple prints, which are great. And then, of course, these guys are dry from earlier. All right, so those are what we made. Let's make them into cards, shall we? I'm just going to leave my hands all gross the way they are. Okay, so here's what happens next. I'm going to take some double-sided adhesive sheet and get these onto our cards. So I think, I don't know which one I want to do. Okay, so should we do the black and white rose, or should we do the blue and white sunflower? Let me know in the comments. Yes, so Dawn, the link for the fan is in today's supplies list. So just click on the link either in the bookmark up in the chat or down in the description for today's project. And I made sure to put that fan in there because I knew y'all would be interested in it. You got it, Kathy. It's in the link. All right, everyone wants the sunflower, so we'll do the sunflower. Okay, so what we're going to do is I've got this double-sided adhesive sheet, right? I don't want this to be just like flat, so we're just going to crunch it up a little bit. Give it some great texture. All right. Let's see. Yep, that'll work. And so I don't even really need to think about getting this on here straight or anything like that. I just want this to be kind of crunched up. I'm just going to grab it. And then I can turn it over and then do whatever I want to manipulate it a little bit. And then just flatten it up. Oh, and look, I've got a clean brayer here. I'm just going to brayer it all for some good contact. All right. There you go. Yep, Kathy, this is the part from the instructions that you may have been like, oh, what do I do? That's what we do. We just crinkle it up and get it on there. Okay, so let's do this one. I'm like, I know I have more of them. Oh, they're hiding. Okay, so everybody wants to do sunflower, blue and white. Nancy, you always want to do the opposite. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with this one. A little crinkle. Not too much on this one, I think. Yes, and it does kind of cover up the crease. Actually, in this one, for sure, it covered up the crease because it just crinkled right up the center. And like, I mean, you're like, oh, wow, that's a whole lot of adhesive to be using. But you know what? When you're working with this deli paper, it's thin to begin with, right? So this is helpful. It gives it a little bit more substance when you're working with it. Oh, I love that. And it's going to make it a lot easier to cut on your paper cutter and all that kind of stuff. And then it's got the adhesive on the back, so then you can just put it right on, right? Okay, so that looks gorgeous. See, that's all ready to go. And go ahead and do this one. So for this one, actually, I think I'm gonna have to die cut a different sentiment because I'll die cut a sentiment in yellow and then it'll look really nice together, right? A little contrasting action going on. All right. So there you go. Just kind of pop that on to adhere it. That way you can still kind of manipulate this a little bit if you need to kind of pull up your paper. It shouldn't be completely stuck on, so you can still kind of work with it a little bit. If you want to leave some of that bigger texture, you know, like you don't want it all to lay down flat, then don't smush it. Don't use your brayer to smush it or anything. Just kind of use your hands. All right, there. All right, so these, let's take a look at our projects. I did actually already do the sentiment, so we really just need to add them on. So you can either cut them down, you can leave them 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You can cut them down with just a little bit of a border, or you can cut them down with a bigger border. However you want to do that. I'm going to go take care of that right now. All right. There. So now I've got some of those. And let's look at all this. I mean, so even all of this stuff here, it's got the double-sided adhesive on it, right? So we're going to save these because you could die cut from them. You can do all sorts of things. I mean, these are all just really great pieces to use for all sorts of different stuff, right? Okay. So that, and I've got 3 cards, just typical card bases, nothing special or out of the ordinary with these guys, right? Yeah, oh yeah, you could totally use that as washi tape. There's so many things you could do with that, right? So if you end up with like a little hanger offer there because of the way that things got crinkled, of course, that's the nice thing. You've got a nice straight cut on the back. So then you can just cut along that edge and clean that up so you don't have a little bloop, right? So we can just do that. Actually, this one I think is going to go like so. And again, you got that double-sided adhesive on here, so it's super easy to just get that started. And it's going to keep all those crinkles and creases in place, which is kind of the big thing. Right, so it gives us just a little bit of working power here. And I'm just going to fold that over like so and get that aligned. So let's see, what did I do here? Because remember, when you put this down, it is going to stick forever. So you want to get this nice and aligned. So this is the bottom where it's not, where I haven't pulled up the adhesive yet. And sometimes that can be helpful to kind of get things in place. Right, and then you can just peel and pull and kind of smush it down as you go. Check that out. So beautiful. All right, so that's as easy as it gets. And then if your stencil is, you know, smaller than the space, you're going to end up with like a little bit of the side on there. There we go. Sometimes a little pokey tool helps to get that started. All right, so you see how this one I've got like some of the sides on here. That's okay too, because that just looks, that looks really neat as well. And this is like kind of shimmery because of the pink, right? So such a cool look. Now this one I cut in the smaller aspect. So this is 3 3/4 by 5. There we go. So that one, so cool. And even with this little, like there's all these little folds in here, right? So if you don't like the way the fold is looking, sometimes you can just kind of flip it over and it looks a little more balanced. You can kind of manipulate these a little bit if you want and do some slight changes to the way that it looks. See, like that, maybe it looks better. All right, and number 3. And it holds, it helps to hide any imperfections that you may not really be happy with, like that's crease down the center. Let's see, what's an ATC? It is an artist trading card, and they are small cards about the size of a typical baseball card that paper crafters, mixed media artists trade with each other. So we are getting ready to start our own ATC trading club in Bloom Crafters. And that's going to be a ton of fun. So here we go, our last one. This is going to be really pretty because it's going to be that white on white with the blue. Love it. Look at all that. And the crinkle in here is just so awesome. Okay, so that, and that. And I've got some dies. So I did the Fancy Hugs die from Altenew. Got that one. We've got the Get Well Soon die set from Paper Rose. And then I also did the Signature Words dies from Altenew as well. So we've got a few things to pick here. Now I like the ones from, and this was the original design, the ones from Paper Rose, because there's the shadow. So you can make sure that it really shows up with whatever you've got behind it. And then this is actually another contrast because we've got this beautiful green, which is a nice contrast to the pink on our flowers. So in this case, just to kind of move a little faster, I'm going to actually put the shadow pieces down first. And then we'll add the thinner bits on top. I don't always do it this way. Actually, it's kind of a nice way to do it because then you can make sure that you've got everything spaced properly and everything. But it's also a risky way to do it because if for some reason you mess up with your skinny ones, your skinny sentiments, then you might end up having a problem. But this is definitely a way you can do this. All right, and then I'm going to take, I don't often use these. These are reverse tweezers, and I don't have these in the list. I just thought about picking them up for this today. Because what I can do is I can just hold on to it, and I don't have to worry about holding it with the tweezer because it's a reverse. And then I can use this to get my adhesive onto my sentiment without getting it all over my hands, which is kind of nice. Right, as you can see, like I was not neat about that. I didn't get it everywhere. It doesn't have to be everywhere. It just has to be in enough places that it's going to keep the sentiment down and in place. All right. So for those of you that are maybe just joining us today, or maybe you've been with us all month working on the gel press, what has been the most exciting thing for you about working with gel press or watching me work with gel press? What appeals to you? Let me see how awkward I can get with this one. Oh my goodness. So for me, working with gel press, what I love is that every pull is unique and you never know what you're going to get. All right, so there's one. We're going to add some little bits and bobs to that in a little bit. What I want to do on this one, so Kathy, this was the original print. So when I put the blue down, so Kathy's asking me, how did the stencil not get smeary blue on the blue and white print? So this is just blue. There's no white on that at all. It was the initial print. So we put down the blue and then I put down the stencil and then the paper went over it to grab everything that was not protected by the stencil. So that was like the initial print before we did the contrasting color. So there's no white on there at all. It's just the deli paper and then the white background. All right, so this one I think I want to do. And you know what I love about these is that they can be so simple because you don't want to take away from the beautiful gel print, right? So just a simple die cut sentiment on here can be perfection. I didn't like how that, it was like not square on there. There we go. See, look at how pretty that is. All right. Yeah, exactly. The paint was under the stencil. There was no white or anything. So on this one, I think to do the hugs as well. But I want to do it in yellow. So I would just die cut, you know, this in the yellow and do that on there. All right, but before we close today, I kind of need to add some embellishment to these. Now, normally I'm like, well, you don't have to do an embellishment, right? Because it looks gorgeous without. But on these, I kind of liked them with the contrasting enamel dots, right? So I kind of picked one that looked really close in color. I didn't have like an exact match. It's kind of a mix between maybe the Seashore or the Cool Summer Night ones. Actually, I think these look better. So, you know, you can add some enamel dots just to give it a little bit of, you know, a little bit of fun movement around the words for sure. And then like on this one, I'm definitely going for yellow. So we'll add in. And these, like I always try to do, so here I'll do a large one and the smallest one. And then in the opposite side, so 1, 2, and then I'll kind of put a yellow one down here. So 1, 2, 3, always in a triangular pattern. And you can't really, I mean, you can see them. You see them more in person because you see the difference in texture and the way that the light plays off of them. But that's really perfect, the way to have those on there. I could have done them in blue too. That would have been nice as well. All right. So let's see. Cece says she's learned more of how the gel press works when I've shown the process several times. And that was perfect English, Cece. It is exactly how that works. So, yep. And then on this one, like I said, I'll do a yellow hugs and then add some yellow around it and it'll look really awesome. So, there you go, guys. Let me pull up the other project, the samples that I had from before. So these are some of the samples as well. So you see this one, I added in some splatter. And of course, this one is very similar to this one here. But if you wanted to, you could add some splatter in there and it would look really neat as well. So there you go. All sorts of amazing gel press projects this month. And next week we are going to be doing projects with our leftovers. So we're going to be using stencils, but we're going to be using like all of our leftover sheets. So like all of these are going to make an appearance. I'm going to show you some easy ways to use up extra pieces and even these more abstract pieces, which actually ends up being more fun. How to use up the abstract pieces to create some really cool scrap projects with all of our gel press prints. So I'm glad you guys joined me today. For those of you in Bloom Crafters, we're going to be headed over to our private Q&A chat for the day. So I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes. Let's see. Someone wants to know when will be our next gel print month. I don't know. It might be sooner rather than later because you know how much we all love gel prints. Anyway, guys, I'm so glad that you joined me today. If you ever have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't forget to give today's video a thumbs up on your way out. Share it with some friends. If you need to do some crafty shopping, of course, use my affiliate links. And don't forget to sign up for my mailing list. I've got lots of exciting events coming up that I would love for you to be a part of. So I will catch you all later. And until next time, happy crafting.